Hello, everyone. Welcome to Let Me Tell You Why podcast with Jeremy Jacobowitz. I am your host, Jeremy Jacobowitz, and today we are talking about how I failed on the internet for years before being a success, I guess, or hitting it or doing whatever, having any level of success on the internet. It took years and years and years. So we're going to talk about that story, sort of related to just like if you're trying to be creative, you're trying to be an influencer, or just literally if you're just a person that graduated and you're lost and you want to do something else and you need to pivot. I think it's a helpful story for a lot of people. So we're going to talk about that, plus all the New York City restaurant news you need, including a new Turkish bakery, some summer Ample Hill flavors, and of course, what I'm into this week. But before we get to all of that, thank you guys for watching and listening. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Wherever you are watching and listening, whether it be YouTube, the new YouTube channel, Spotify, Apple, there's a million other places to guess. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like this podcast. Make sure you comment. Make sure you leave a review if you could leave a review. All those things are incredibly helpful. And all the feedback is helpful too. Let me know. DM me at Jeremy Jacobowitz. Tell me what you're thinking. And as a reward for you guys, everything on my merch shop, jeremyjshop.com, there's a discount code for you. June 12, save 12% off everything on the site. It's heating up. It's summer. I got endless tees. I got endless hats. I have shorts on there. I got water things, whatever you want. Stay cool for the summer. And let me tell you why. Exile Sound merch, just honey merch with proceeds going to Muddy Paw Rescue if you want to help some dogs. So many fun things there. jeremyjshop.com. Use code June12. Okay, let's get to some restaurant news. Redbeard Bakery in East Village is a Turkish coffee shop that is relaunching as a bakery. There would be a mix of sweet and savory items on the menu, but think pastrami and cheese barek, baklava donuts, chocolate pistachio babka swirls, okay, and a simit, a mashup of a traditional Turkish sesame bread ring with a New York City bagel. Really interesting, really good, really unique, looks delicious. I want to check that out. Ample Hills Ice Cream, everyone knows what that is. All summer long, Ample Hills Ice Cream will have special collabs and flavors. Look out for an ube ooey gooey with ube ice cream and a butter cake, a Dubai churner with chocolate fudge and pistachio square ice cream, a Mike's Hot Honey ice cream called Mike's Hot Sweet as Honey, and a secret hedonist flavor hitting later this summer. Little heat and sweets, cool you down and heat you up at the same time. Just opened this week is Head 11. It's HED 11. I assume it's Head. Maybe it's HED 11. I don't know. The Michelin-recognized San Francisco Thai restaurant has come to New York City as Head New York City. Inside of the London Terrace building, you can expect a 5-course Southern Thai tasting menu. Standouts that include a grilled Hokkaido scallop with coconut curry, braised caramelized pork belly, and a Southern red curry grilled chicken. Looks incredible. Bar Suzanne just opened in Domino Park, right next to me. I always love when things open in Domino Park. Love it. And is a seafood-focused cocktail and raw bar from the former chef at Kellogg's Diner and Neuro, Jackie Carnesi. She was on his podcast like a year and a half ago. You could go find that episode. We talked about my love of diners. With purveyors from Long Island's North Fork and other waterways, you can expect things like pickled mussels, fluke milanese, grilled squid, and drinks like the Uno Mas, which has tequila, nixta, suze, citrus, grapefruit cordial, and seltzer. Lots of words I don't know in there. Topped with the chipotle tahine. Like I said, anything opening up in the Domino area, I'm going to be thrilled about. It's literally right on the water. Beautiful views, this, like cute little cocktail bar, great apps. What maybe like a good date spot. Maybe I'll have to try that out. Buena Vista Restaurant and Bar has just opened in East Village with a menu inspired by Spain, the Caribbean, Mexico, and South America. Look for things like croquettes, paella, churrasco, and a rotating selection of small plates. Leonetta has launched a brand new brunch menu. Standouts include a babka French toast, shakshuka, a black truffle scramble, Leo's double burger, and the coolest part to me, a build-your-own spritz bar. For the 21st year, the Jazz Age Lawn Party returns to Governor's Island on June 13th and 14th, that weekend. Expect performances from Michael Arenella and his Dreamland Orchestra, Queen Esther, vintage clothing vendors, a 1920s car exhibition, of course, food, and a whole lot more. You could check that out at www.jazz. I can't read this. Jazz. Oh my God. Wait, hold on. I put the jazzagelonparty.com. That would make sense. I will be in Pittsburgh that weekend. We'll talk about that at another point, but I just booked that trip to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's been on my list for a while. Looks like a beautiful city, cheap flight, cheap hotels. I'm already finding great restaurants. I'm going to see a Pirates game. I'm super, super excited, but obviously we'll save that for another podcast. Okay, but let's talk about what you may have missed, about what I've been posting on the internet. Ooh, we'll start with what is your bagel order, because we had maybe the biggest guest yet, Rick Ross, Ricky Rose. He has new music, a new tour, and a new book, and he's on my What is Your Bagel show, talking about bagels, talking about a whole lot of other things too. This dude is awesome. This dude is exactly what you want him to be. My favorite part is, so the way it happened was Meta actually reached out and like, hey, we have Rick Ross coming to the office. We want to set him up on a couple like short form interviews. We think, he'd be really great for this. I was like, yes, 100%. Let's do it. So I go to the Meta office. So we all have 15 minutes or so with him, and we're using one of the same rooms. So as the shoot before me was wrapping up and I was setting up for my shoot, he was just chilling and he's listening to music on his phone, just fucking vibing. And I don't think you'll be able to guess what it was, because it was so it is so perfect, but you would never be able to guess this. He was just vibing to Phil Collins, just Rick Ross vibing to Phil Collins, as I said on my camera, which is really, really funny. But that interview is really, really fun. Check that out. Instagram. Ooh, we have a new Instagram account for that. Same way I had a separate Instagram account, TikTok account for What is Your Big Order. I started one on Instagram. The main videos will still go on the main feed at Jeremy Jacobowitz, but there's so much extra content on these shoots that I just can't fit in. I thought okay, well, I need a place to share these. So what is your big order now? TikTok, Instagram. And then if you want to see the full interview, always on the YouTube, and it goes out on the Substack, morsels.food. The other big thing is I went on a cheesesteak crawl in New York City. So obviously you guys have seen a lot of my Philly content. When I'm in Philly, I'm always getting cheesesteaks. And I just feel like there's been so many new cool cheesesteak places in New York City. I was like, I wonder if I could get a good cheesesteak in New York City and save myself a trip to Philly. So I went to 4 spots. I went to Rocco's, I went to Federoff's, I went to Mama's 2, and I went to Danny and Coop's. And that is long form on YouTube, shorter form on Instagram and TikTok, and then on morsels.food, there's a whole article too with all 4 locations. So wherever you want to see it, watch it, read it, it is there for you. But a really fun day. I legit did it one day. Most of my wrap up videos or must eat videos or whatever you want to call these things, guides are not done in one day, but I kind of did a little kind of vloggy style on YouTube too, because I biked to most places and had a really fun day. So you can check that on YouTube if you want to have all the fun. But if you just want to know what the spots and know a little bit more about them, there's everywhere too. But that's sort of my plan going forward. I want to do more just kind of roundups, I guess, and kind of create these long form videos around it. They honestly just overall do better than singular videos. Not that singular restaurant videos can't just pop off, but I find that consistently roundup videos just do better. And you know what? I mean, we're going to talk about internet failures coming up in a minute here. And a lot of it has to do, if you got to pivot, you got to listen to the audience, you got to listen to the data. And so that's kind of the plan moving forward. I have a lot of really fun, unique ideas to kind of round up, some sort of more general, some kind of very specific to me, but I'm going to have fun with it. So that's sort of the plan moving forward, but we'll see what happens. Is there anything else I posted? No, I mean, that's kind of it. And, honestly, a part of that thing too is I think I'm going to post just a little less, one less video a week will allow me to do these bigger videos. And I just think the trade-off is there to concentrate on the bigger videos and do one less video a week. So listen, I mean, I've dozens and dozens of videos sitting in the folder to post. So I don't think you're really going to notice that I'm posting less, but that's sort of the plan moving forward. It's one big shoot day, get this big video, go to dinner once a week or whatever. I have all the travel content and kind of I don't really know if it makes my life easier, but it lets me really focus on getting one really good one a week. So that's a plan for that. Anything else before we get to? Did I do anything else? I forget if I talked about these other videos. Did I talk about the Astoria Queens video? I got a video rating Astoria Queens. I forget if I talked about it in the last episode, but listen, follow me on Instagram at Jeremy Jacobowitz. Follow me on TikTok at Jeremy Jacobowitz. Follow me on YouTube. And you could see all these things and not miss anything ever. Okay, but let's talk about the main topic this week, and that is how I failed so hard. I think I'm being hard on myself, but how I failed on the internet for years before succeeding. So let's go back in time. Let's go back to 2009. I am at spring. So this is, oh my God, 2009 is, oh God, math is hard. 2000, you guys are like, what a fucking idiot. 17 years ago, right? So 17 years ago, I graduate from NYU, and the last 2 years I was at NYU, I was interning at SNY, the Mets Network. So I was in the like production studio, really basically being a field producer at that point. I was an intern, I was getting paid, but my job responsibilities at that point were a field producer. I was doing that. I was in the corporate office at the same time. I would spend kind of like my days at corporate and then at nights in the studio and the weekends at the studio too. I was basically working every second along with going to school too. I had left SNY that winter, so winter of 9, I guess, just that January, because WCBS had actually hired me to be a field producer on the weekends, and I was like, well, this is a job. I worked at SNY for free for 2 years. Someone wants to pay me to essentially do that job. Great, let's do that. So I was doing that job, and I did it for a few months, not even really. And what happened was they just had layoffs. The football season ended, and my boss emailed me. He was like, "Hey, there's really not much sports going on right now, so maybe when baseball season starts off, we'll like email you again to work." Which isn't as devastating as it sounded. It was just kind of like I was still in college. Yes, I was graduating that spring, but I didn't really think I was going to be a producer for the rest of my life. Little did I know. Um, so it's kind of like, oh, that sucks. Like like I was barely getting money anyways, working 2 days a week. Like the money wasn't that, it was just like, oh, that's kind of a bummer. More of a bummer because the next day in the newspaper I read that WCBS lays off 75% of its sports staff. And I was like, oh, I'm not coming back to this job. I got laid off. So I got laid off from my job before graduating college, which, is an achievement. But so I graduated that spring, and I didn't know what to do. I could not get a job. SNY had offered me like to start off in the in the studio. They basically started me at the bottom. Not internship, I guess, is the bottom, but the bottom paid position, which is like overnights or weekends, just PAs, just like transcribing stuff. And while I could appreciate it, I also had felt at that point that my role there and what I've been doing there was so far beyond the job that they had offered me. I didn't really want to do it, especially at a company that I felt that I had proved myself at for 2 years. I know that's why they offered it to me, because they just thought, well, that's the next step from intern is this job. But truly, my responsibilities were levels beyond that at that point. And if I was going to a new place, of course, I would have done anything. But to feel like even though I was getting paid, to feel like the responsibilities were backwards there, I didn't love. So I told them no. And as you guys know, I'm someone that loves to work. Um, and so I was like, well, what do I do? So again, this is '09. YouTube had just started a few years earlier. Like it really wasn't a big thing, but obviously people were on YouTube. So I thought, well, I want to, at that point, I was like, at that point, my real goal was actually to work in programming at a network. I had worked at programming at SNY and I loved it. It was a really fun mix of, like somewhat creative because you have a creative hands in everything that goes on the network, but also like very data driven and analytical, which I also really thought was cool. Like one of my responsibilities was like call in Nielsen every day and talk about ratings, and I just loved it. It was like the perfect thing for me. So my goal really was working programming. I was applying to more internships and trying to get in the door at any network just to work in fucking programming. It just like I loved it. But in the meantime, I just needed anything. And my background at that point had been producing these pieces in sports. And I was truly passionate about sports. I was graduating with a degree in sports management. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to start a YouTube channel and I'm just going to do what I was doing at SNY and WCBS. And I have all these connects now at all these sports teams and all these things. And I'll just go cover them. And nowadays that sounds kind of right. Also sounds kind of weird. Like nowadays, it's not crazy to have like internet people covering sports. But also nowadays, it feels like, well, what are you going to start? You're starting with 0 followers and just going to email teams and get in. But in 2009, there was nobody doing that. There was no independent online video covering sports. So I was like, okay, there's something here. Something here. How this connects. And listen, I wasn't getting credentialed to be in the locker room of the Yankees, but I could be credentialed to cover like weird stuff. I would cover, Fordham football games, Columbia basketball games. If, the Mets were doing a charity event, I could get in there. Some WrestleMania press conferences. Like the first day I launched, I had interviews with LeBron James because he was doing some Nike event that I was able to figure out the PR contact for. So I knew there was a space for it. So I launched sportsrev.tv. And this was my first thing, sportsrev.tv. Actually, let me look if there's I wonder if it's still a website, sportsrev.tv. Does it bring me anywhere? I must still own the domain. I don't think I would give up anything. It's not doing anything. I mean, this website's from almost 20 years ago. It might just be dead. Well, we'll let that load. If it comes up, I'll tell you guys. But so that was the idea. So like, again, like there weren't influencers at the time. There weren't people really making money on the internet time. I was just like, I just want to work. I want to do things. And here's a space for me to do it. And it did like okay. I think I just had no idea what the space was. I mean, listen, I was 22. I was so fucking stupid. I was stupid. I knew I wanted this, but I guess I didn't like really know how to do it. And I would come up with different show ideas, different segments. Again, I was on camera for a lot of it, but my goal wasn't ever to be on camera. My goal was always to produce. So like even I started a show called Best Sports Bar in New York City. This is sort of like really like, listen, I was doing food content before I even knew I should be doing food content. So again, it's like looking at the space. I loved the food travel shows. I was like, okay, this is how I approach a lot of things. How could I take an idea that I really like someone else doing and how do I mold it to fit what I like doing? So I was like, okay, I love food travel shows. I have this website, this website's not loading. I'm just going to get rid of it. Sportsrev.tv, I guess dead. But the YouTube channel is the same. So my YouTube channel is the same channel. I've delisted a lot of those videos just because they don't make any fucking sense. Some of them are still sprinkled in there. You can find it if you go back deep enough. But anyway, so Best Sports Bar in New York City. So it's like, well, I have the sports website, the sports YouTube. I really love these food shows. How do I meld it to be mine? Oh, Best Sports Bars in New York City. So again, this is so long ago that like nowadays, yeah, it makes sense for someone to email a restaurant and be like, could I film something with you guys? So back in the day, they were like, what? They didn't even get it. But at the end of the day, I would just kind of pitch them like, I just want to make a commercial for you guys, basically. So they were pretty into it, especially sports bars don't get a lot of, even nowadays, don't get like a ton of coverage. So I did a show across Best Sports in New York City and I kept trying to find hosts. And what I kept finding was like, not that they weren't talented, but when you aren't paying someone, because I couldn't afford to pay anyone, you know what I mean? I would find people that were just looking to get on camera experience. But when you're not paying them and it's not really their idea and they're not super passionate about it, it's really hard to coordinate with them, like, hey, I need to coordinate dates to shoot this. Oh, I need to coordinate VO pickups. I need to coordinate this. And it became like a struggle. So I realized that, well, if I was on camera, well, it would make my life a whole lot fucking easier. I wouldn't have to coordinate anything. I was coordinating myself, and my buddy would help me film it. And if there needs to be pickups or needs to be anything, like I'm there. So it became like a co-hosting thing, and I'd find different people to co-host it with me. And like you look back, and the show was horrible. The concept was good. I still kind of believe in the concept. I ended up pitching the concept to Food Network years later, and we didn't get far, but at least had conversations to pitch this around. But looking back, the numbers back then were actually like really good. Like I'll look at the numbers still on YouTube. It's again the same channel. I'm like, shit, I probably should have continued it. And this is really where I fucked up. Like I don't think it was good. I don't think what I was doing on the internet was good. But at the same time, like in 2009, 2010, you didn't have to be good. You know what I mean? Like if you look back on the biggest YouTubers nowadays that started back then too, their videos sucked, and they would say the same thing. They were just kind of right place, right time. The magic happens. You learn, you figure it out. And I, I, I try and think back to like why I didn't work harder, you know. And part of it is just you're young. You're 20, you're 22, whatever you're 23. And I don't think I always loved working, and I would always want to put in the hours, but for whatever reason, I just don't think I went at it as hard as I could. I think I overcomplicated things. I think I overthought things. And part of it was just the tools you had back then. Nowadays, it's so easy. Use your fucking iPhone. You edit on, edits on your phone or whatever. You get a video done in 2 seconds. Back in the day, I had to have like a real camera and all these gear and all these lights. And like even just the editing software I would use. It was probably was I on I had a MacBook then. So it was probably cutting on Final Cut then. Um, it wasn't easy. And I didn't know how to make it easier on myself. Again, because I came from like a TV background, I kind of thought it had to be TV, but I couldn't really achieve TV. So I would like overdo it and like be not motivated. But like looking back, the numbers were there. And I do kind of I think two things. I think like 100% I didn't go at it as hard as I should have. And part of that too is like my goal wasn't the goal was just to keep working until I found another job, which is sort of what happened. Like really the reason it died was that I got a job at WWE, and finally I was like, okay, cool. Like I kind of need money. I can't be doing this thing that doesn't make me any money. So that was part of it. It wasn't like this lifelong thing of like, let's grow this and be an influencer, figure this out. It was kind of just like I just want to do things and stay busy. Um, but the other part of it too is that I think back like, well, if I had just stuck with it, if I just worked harder, maybe like I could have been an original YouTuber. And I mean, I was, but I could have been an original successful YouTuber in 2009, 2010. Imagine the followers I'd have now. But at the same time, it was so food focused. I was sorry, it was so sports focused. And I don't know if I would have been able to continue that. I mean, looking at my life now, I'm just not as passionate about sports as I was. So maybe I could have kept pivoting it. Maybe it would have become more wrestling stuff, honestly, because I think like I became. I did lose wrestling passion too, but I guess I'm more focused on that than I was covering hockey back then. Um, so would I've had this thing that was really successful, but I wasn't super passionate about it anymore? I don't know. I don't know, but I think like the bigger lesson to all this, sort of like the reason why I want to talk about this, is obviously like people are graduating college right now. They're really struggling. People that are graduate college years ago really struggling, trying to find their way and trying to figure out what to do. And I think that like we're so afraid to fail. People are really afraid to fail, especially on the internet. And my whole thing is like this: the point of the story is like it's okay to fail on the internet. It's okay to fail anywhere, especially when you're young. You are supposed to fail. The odds of the thing that you want to do when you're 22 succeeding are not likely. And I know traditionally that was how it works. You graduate, you want to be a lawyer like my parents. Well, you graduate, you go to law school, you become a lawyer. You can't fucking fail at that because you spent endless amounts of money and time doing that. But nowadays, the world is different and people pivot their jobs all the time and they're finding new things. And I think like don't be afraid to kind of put stuff out there and see, and don't be afraid to pivot. Going back to the whole thing too of like if I had continued with that sports, would I've pivoted at some point? And I do think it would have pivoted again. Like I was already pivoting in it. I was doing best sports bar in New York City. Like without me even realizing at the time, I was setting myself up to, you know, go more towards food. I was becoming more and more passionate about that. Um, but I think also like the thing of like if you're young, don't make the mistakes I did too of like if you're gonna do this, do it. Don't do it half-assed. Again, like I just think back, I'm like, what was I doing with my time? Like I literally don't know what I did every day if I wasn't working on this. But I don't feel like I was working on this every day. I mean, again, this is almost 20 years ago in my brain. Back then, I barely remember anything, but I'm like, I don't regret it. Obviously, it worked out. And I think like those lessons and the things you learn and your ability to pivot are all the things that actually make you a success, not dumb luck. It would have been dumb luck if that thing worked. But me trying and putting stuff out there and working on it and figuring stuff out, maybe it's not the easiest because it's public enough, but I tried. I tried. Um, but yeah, I just wish you tried. So that's my advice too. Like, especially if you're going to want to do stuff on the internet. Like you gotta pump stuff out there. I mean, that's why I beg people when they want to be influencers. I'm like, do you really want to be an influencer? I know, I know it seems cool and it's fun, and like I'm not denying any of those things, but at the same time, like, okay, my passion happened to sports TV. But let's say you're passionate sports and want to talk about sports on the internet. Your job isn't to talk about sports on the internet. Your job is to make videos, and if you hate making videos, you're gonna end up hating it, as opposed to just like being very passionate about what you love about it. And that's the thing too of like, really, you have to understand what the job really is before you go after it. But I think at the end of the day, like, this is my biggest advice, always going to talk to people. I'm like, and I think that part of my success has been the ability to have a goal, have something you're going towards, have something, whatever. But I also don't think you should swim against stream. I think that like, see where life is taking you and be like, okay, this kind of makes sense. Maybe this is the direction to go in. And you look at that playing out with this, which is like, I have this Best Sports Bar in New York City show. I never thought I wanted to, work in food TV or whatever when I was doing that. But then looking back, like, oh, I was doing it. I was setting myself up for this without realizing it. So then when those opportunities came to me, I was like, oh, this is what I've wanted to do. And if I've just been like, I just want to do sports, only sports, I'm not even thinking about anything else, I think I never would have gotten here. And even though I had failed at my first thing on the internet, it did lead to this. So I had taken, when I was working at WWE, ended up basically not producing anything on the internet. I had a job, you know what I mean? I had a job for over a year there, and I would make some videos here and there when I could, but I just, I didn't have the ability to do more. Again, like, it took a lot more work back then to make a video than it does nowadays. And it did not have the work ethic that I have nowadays, frankly. But when I left WWE, when the job ended, I was like, okay, well, again, I have free time. Okay, I'm going to go back to this YouTube channel. And what I did was I was like, okay, Best Sports Bar in New York City was fun, but what if there's some way I could pivot that? What if there's, again, like, what if there's something else I could do in this food travel world that could make more sense? And the show I came up with was Brunch Boys. And Brunch Boys, that YouTube show, we only made 3 episodes of it, 4 episodes of it, but that was a jumping off point to then starting that Instagram account, because I needed an Instagram account for that show. And then that's the Instagram account that took off, and that is what has led here over 10 years later doing this full time. So I think that's also a huge lesson of like, I look at that original venture on the internet as a failure in like a micro sense, but when you look at it in a macro sense, it's that failure is what led to my success. And I think that's always kind of been my outlook on life, of like, things in the moment could seem so bad, but when you connect the dots of what those things ended up meaning and doing, it ended up being positive. And in general, I'm a glass half full kind of guy, and maybe it's my detriment. I am, but I think that feeds into it of like, I could look back at that and really think of it as a failure, because it failed. Or you could look back at it and be like, yeah, that failed, but it led to this and this and this and led to this and this, and look where I am now. And I think that's the biggest thing. I think it's perspective too. And that's the biggest lesson of failing, is like, don't let failing let you fail in the future. Let your failures lead to successes. And that's what I did with sportsrev.tv. RIP. There was always a goal to go back to it. I don't know if I was ever able to expand my team at all. I have a lot of other channel ideas that I already kind of do, frankly. Like, I have a secret YouTube channel called Jeremy Jacobowitz 2, TOO. That's like the second channel on TikTok also, where I just kind of post stuff. And I kind of been doing sports stuff there. So if I ever had someone to really edit my videos, maybe one day it will come back. Maybe Best Sports Bar in New York City will come back. Have the logo, have a beautiful logo. If you guys want that, let me know. Maybe we'll bring back the original Brunch Boys show. Who knows? Maybe I'll post the original Brunch Boys show. I think it's still on YouTube. You guys can look for it. It's there. It looks like a show from, God, the original Brunch Boys show would have been 11 years ago. So 2015. Shit, wow, I've been doing this a very long time. I'm old. Let's talk about what I'm into this week. 2 video games. Both of them dropped on Xbox Game Pass over the past few weeks. First one is Mixtape. So Mixtape has gotten a lot of controversy because there's a question of whether it's a video game or not. It is set in like the early 90s and it's sort of about a bunch of teenagers graduating that summer and their friend dynamics and moving on in life and what happens when you're going off to college and those relationships and those dynamics. It's a very, very, very sweet story. The protagonist is like very into music, so every like setup is like some song from the 70s, 80s, or early 90s. It's a very sweet, sweet thing. It's unclear where they live, but it seems like northwest suburbs somewhere. But I thought it was very sweet, a beautiful looking game, really unique art style, really fun. But the controversy is that it's not a lot of gaming in it. It is much more like a movie you're kind of playing along with. And I get that people are kind of upset about that, but I actually really enjoy it. I don't know. I think we have enough games where we're just like murdering a billion people. And to play a nice, kind of simple, fun game that just lasts a few hours and tells this really sweet story is kind of nice. And we need more games like that on the internet. So I'm okay with it. And I do think if you want to gamify it a little bit, and the way I gamified it, because it's very hard to fail, frankly, kind of just do whatever, is using achievements. So the actual way to make it a game is almost every scenario has some achievement, Xbox's achievement you're trying to get. So I would play it trying to get those. So if you do want to give it a try and you're like, think you're going to be bored because it's not game enough for you, use the achievements. That makes it more of a game. It's only a few hours long. It's on Game Pass. If you're Game Pass, so it's free for you in Game Pass. Its art direction is really sweet. It's a sweet, sweet, sweet story. Music is really cool and great that they license all this. And I think I think we do need more games like that. We don't need more killing games. We need more games like Mixtape. But that was only a few hours. The game I'm probably going to sink years and years and years into also came out this week. Forza Horizon 6. Forza Horizon is probably my favorite video game series of all time. If you don't know what it is a racing game. It's more of a car game than a racing game. It is a mix of sort of simulation, but very arcadey. It's not hardcore. Like you could just really get into it and have fun. And literally everything you do accumulates points in it. You could race, accumulate points. It's an open world game too. So you're just driving around the open world, you're doing stuff. You could do missions. You could find photos. You could take photographs. And you're just constantly gaining points for points and buying cars. It's a very addicting game. It almost feels like gambling. Not that you're gambling in anything. There actually aren't gambling microtransactions in this. Good on them. But in just terms of like stimulating you, like walking around a casino, everything, like you're constantly just like, oh. But I've loved this series for years and years and years. It's generally one of my favorite series. But the best part is that my favorite game series is in Japan this time. You get to literally drive around an amalgamation of Japan. And what a goddamn dream. So you get to drive around the most incredible cars of all time. One of the most fun games of all time. Literally, there's like a billion things to do in this game. And you're in Japan. They have like Tokyo. They have like the mountains. They have the bamboo forests. You could do missions of like literally dropping off food. You could find cars, some absolute supercars to like really shitty, weird Toyotas. Forza Horizon, listen, if you are a driving racing game fan at all, you absolutely need this game. If you just love cars, you absolutely need this game. But even if you're not, I think you'll love this game. Because again, like you can make the game harder, but you could also set the difficulty to make it way easier. And it's just a joy. Just like usually in open world racing games, I don't like it because I'm like, I just want to get to the race. I don't want to fucking drive around this stupid world so I could go find a race, give me a race. Where Forza, like one of its many like magic sauces is that it's just as much fun just driving around this world as it is racing. So you'll like see a race you want to do and it says like, oh, it's 12 miles away, which is probably like on a 3-minute drive or something in the game. And normally be like, oh, this is stupid. I don't want to do this. But this game is so much fun that like, yeah, let me just drive. Let me take a drive in Japan and go and drive over there and see what happens. Because there's so many collectibles and things happening and whatever. And like, it's vast. And even if you don't want to do it, you could fast travel a little bit if you want to. But the coolest part this year is they have an auto drive. So if it is really like a far place on the map to get to, and let's say like, I mean, listen, as I'm playing video games, I'm constantly pausing to look at my phone, go to the bathroom, do whatever. You could hit auto drive. The game will just drive there. You could hit like make it cinematic, and it's showing you like a cinematic. It's almost like a movie driving to the next place. And as it's driving, you can just like look at your phone or go to the bathroom for a minute, and then you're there at the race, and you're and just does it in like a nice little background. The game is nearly perfect. It is amazing. Again, if you have Xbox Game Pass, it's free, which is the craziest thing of all time. Xbox Game Pass. I adore you. I love you. You save me everything. I'm the person that abuses it because I probably buy only 1 or 2 games a year, but I play more than a dozen because they're free on Xbox Game Pass. But yeah, 2 incredible games and a fun episode here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys appreciated it. If you do, hit that like button, subscribe, do all those things, leave a 5-star review, and I will see you next time. See ya.